The NFL season is right around the corner. I got Charlie Baldy back with me to talk some football. Charlie, what's going on, man?
Not much. Football's right around the corner. I can't wait. Can't wait.
Been missing it. So today we are here to talk about what top three quarterbacks have the most pressure entering the 2020 season. Chuck, I'm going to start with you.
All right. I went through a lot of the quarterbacks, but I finally settled on my three. I think the first one has to be Josh Allen. Going into year three, I believe he has a lot of pressure on him now because the Bills are the favorite to win the division. Allen hasn't really shown that he could be consistent with his completions and his accuracy. And now that they got Stephon Diggs to kind of help him out, he's got to take that step forward. The Bills look like a team that could threaten in the AFC East and in the AFC overall. So I think Josh Allen needs to be that key. He does great with his legs running around and whatnot, but the arm has to match what he does on the ground. Secondly, I think Dak Prescott is an obvious answer. He's looking for a big contract. The Cowboys' offense is locked, ready, loaded. You got CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Zeke. The list goes on and on. I think this is a time for Dak to put it all together and show that he could be a true franchise quarterback because he wants 35 plus a year, and he's not going to get that if he has a disappointing year, especially with the way that the offense is. And lastly, I think Jared Goff, which many people might not say, he signed that big contract a couple of years ago. They made it to the Super Bowl. He hasn't lived up to expectations at all. And now that Todd Gurley's gone, he's the face of that franchise. And the Rams are a win-now team. They don't have a lot of cap room coming up. They have a couple of guys that are going to be free agents soon, like Ramsey and other guys. So Jared Goff has to put it together, and he was disappointing last year. I believe the numbers weren't too off to what he usually produces, but he has to be a lot better than what he was last year.
Definitely got some disagreements here. At number three, I'm going Tom Brady. The Buccaneers signed him for a 2 years, $50 million contract. You signed Tom Brady to win a Super Bowl. Tom Brady, we all know, played in 9 Super Bowls, 4-time Super Bowl MVP, and they won 6 Super Bowls as him being the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots. The whole narrative, which I killed it myself, especially you as a Jet fan, you probably did it yourself. We call him a system quarterback. We're all Jets fans are guilty for doing it, and a lot of people in the media are guilty for doing it. This is a perfect opportunity for him to kill that narrative, and especially after we called him washed last year, 2,000-yard receivers with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, so I don't want to hear it. He needs to step up. I think there's a ton of pressure on Tom Brady. Next, Cam Newton. The Panthers gave up on him. That's what Cam Newton told us in that video of him working out shirtless in the gym. He said the Panthers gave up on him. I feel the best I've ever felt, and I'm going to be back to my MVP form. Those are the words of him, not mine. So going now, he has the best coach of all time in Bill Belichick. I expect Cam Newton to have a huge bounce-back season, and he should lead the Patriots to the playoffs, and the division title, given that he has the best coach that he's ever had in his career, and the Patriots were a top defense last year. So I definitely believe there's a ton of pressure on Cam Newton. And number one, I think it's pretty obvious, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, former MVP, threw for 36 touchdowns last year, killed it on the ground as well. Had an historic regular season, but it's his second year in a row where he's laid an egg in the postseason. Which, when you are called the best player in football, according to NFL Network and the players who got him on his agenda, you need to step up once playoff time comes, because great quarterbacks make their legacies once postseason time comes. Lamar Jackson needs to end that narrative as soon as possible. Chuck, to that you say what?
I definitely agree with Lamar Jackson. He's coming off an MVP season, and then the Ravens kind of got exposed in the playoffs. They forced Lamar to throw, and obviously he was not on point. So he definitely needs to come out and prove that he could definitely throw the ball with accuracy, kind of like what Josh Allen has to go through. But I do disagree with Cam and Brady, and here's why. Yes, Brady, has a narrative, system quarterback and everything, but at the end of the day, when he hangs it up, he's still going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer with 6 Super Bowls or however many he's won. So, I guess in the short term, I guess he has something to prove, but I don't think it's a lot of pressure because, he's still going to be Tom Brady, even if he has a disappointing season. And last year, he wasn't really Tom Brady-esque. So, he's kind of already on that decline that we waited for years to happen. And then in Cam's situation, I think it's more of a prove it year than a pressure because the Patriots, yes, they might have had a top defense last year, but when you really look at them, they had a bunch of guys opt out, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and they still have no wide receivers. I mean, can you really even tell me somebody that you're scared of in the Patriots receiving corps?
Julian Edelman is going to be the Ring of Honor for the Patriots. He's one of the best postseason wide receivers of all time. No, don't give me that. Yes, he is. Stop. Just because he's not postseason. No, stop. Julian Edelman is a Super Bowl MVP, bona fide as one of the best playoff wide receivers of all time. And N'Keal Harry was a first-round pick. Last year, he missed the first half of the season, and when he came back, he never dealt in with the offense. Now he has a full offseason. I expect N'Keal Harry to be a first-round pick like they drafted him. So, yes, they do have weapons. And hold on, before I get into that, we know offensive linemen have a huge impact on quarterback play, correct? The Patriots' offensive line was ranked 9th last year. The media won't tell you that because they all got to protect their trust fund baby and Tom Brady. And they lost in the preseason. They lost their starting center in David Andrews. He's back right now. So now they have a good offensive line. The running game was pretty bad last year. I'm not gonna deny that. Sony Michel, James White, they weren't great, but I expect them to have a better year than they did last year at least. Their tight end production, yeah, it's probably the worst it's been in a while, especially after losing Gronk. But on the outside with Julian Edelman and N'Keal Harry, to say they have nothing, and they still have a good defense, even though they lost some pieces. A lot of guys opted out, but I don't want to hear the no help thing.
Well, no, I mean on the offensive side of the ball, listen, Julian Edelman did succeed in the playoffs, yes, but that could have just been the way that the system was with Tom Brady, with all the slants, just upping the ball off on like a 3-yard slanted to Edelman underneath. You're not going to have that with Cam, and Cam throws fastballs much more velocity than Tom Brady. Is Julian Edelman going to be able to catch 100-mile-per-hour football?
Yes. What? Yes. He's an NFL wide receiver. Yes. What? Hold on. And I want to touch into a couple of your other picks. Dak Prescott, not going to argue that. I was thinking about him, but that's not a bad pick. Josh Allen, in the 2018 draft class, of the 4 top quarterbacks who got drafted, or 5 rather, he is the least amount of pressure out of every single one of them. Actually, Josh Rosen. So out of the 5 quarterbacks in the first round who got drafted, there's 3 quarterbacks who definitely have more pressure than Josh Allen. Baker Mayfield, definitely. Number 1 overall pick. He needs to step up, especially you got Jarvis Landry, OBJ. The Browns supposed to have a really good roster around them. They told me they were making the playoffs last year. And now this is year 3 for Baker Mayfield. I expect Baker Mayfield to have a better year than he did last year. He's been a turnover machine. He definitely has more pressure than Josh Allen because Josh Allen didn't have that high of a ceiling coming out. Yeah, they said he could have been good. He had the big arm. But I don't know how great he's supposed to be. Our guy, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold needs to have a bounce-back year as well after missing the beginning of the year with mono. He needs to step up, hopefully give a spark for the Jets offense moving forward, even though we don't expect them to make the playoffs or anything. And Lamar Jackson, like I said before, you just won the MVP, regarded as the best player in the NFL. So, and he needs to step up once postseason time comes. They all have more pressure than Josh Allen. And Jared Goff, I understand in terms of the contract situation, but you can look at 5 other quarterbacks with the same situation. Matt Stafford has a ridiculous contract. Kirk Cousins, you can say the same thing. Jared Goff, and then Dak Prescott wants it too. There's other guys with that huge contract, though. If you're basing it off contracts, then it's a different conversation. I don't think that's a terrible pick, but the Josh Allen pick I think is awful.
Well, I said Josh Allen because, the Bills are now now that they're the favorites, they have more pressure on them. We never had this before where, the Patriots were the kings of the AFC East. That's no longer the case. So now Josh Allen has to go out there and make sure that not only do the Bills win the division, not only do they have to make the playoffs, but now they have to win the division. This is their division. And Josh Allen also has to produce in the playoffs. I don't think Josh Allen has ever thrown for over 300 yards in his career. That's insane to think, especially with a top 10 pick, especially a guy who was even rumored to go number 1 overall. So I think Josh Allen has a lot of pressure on him because now he needs to take that next step. And they went out and got Diggs to help Josh Allen take that next step. Yes, I agree with the Baker Mayfield thing. He definitely needs to improve. But now they got a whole new coaching staff and everything. I think what it is they got to stick to the run game. I think Nick Chubb is definitely a workhorse back, probably one of the best top running backs in the league. I think running the ball more will take pressure off of Mayfield. And he has a lot of weapons. They even got him another tight end to even help him out. So I guess you can make the case for Baker Mayfield. Our guy Sam Darnold, I guess yes he has pressure, but when you really look at it, you got to look at it.
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
He to fail. I mean, I guess he's pressure to show that he could be the franchise quarterback, but he has looked good. But at the end of the day, look at who he's throwing the ball to. I mean now with all the injuries, we could line up and play receiver for the Jets. Like that's how bad it's gotten. So I don't think there's a lot of pressure on Sam. But I only said Goff. I mean, yes, I included the contract because they paid him to be, one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and they need him to perform as one. And now that they don't have Todd Gurley anymore, they're going to be a more passing team than they were last year when they were babying Gurley and trying to limit his carries. So I think Goff has to really do it because, I think Kupp is about to become a free agent soon. Ramsey's going to be a free agent, and that window's going to be closing soon. And this was a team that was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So to take a step back like that is not going to be a good look. And then you have to wonder, can Jared Goff be your franchise quarterback? Because they're paying him, I think, like 35, no, not 35, maybe like 30 million, somewhere around there a year. So he's making stupid money, and the play isn't resulting in what he's making.
Every quarterback has a different ceiling of expectations, which to meet that in terms of pressure. Like Sam Darnold, in terms of his pressure, his goal is to prove that he's a franchise quarterback so the Jets could extend him. We don't expect him to lead them to the playoffs. But why I put Tom Brady on there, the Super Bowl savant. He's always in the Super Bowl. Every single year, the Patriots are supposed to make the Super Bowl. And now last year, the only reason they didn't, because he had no weapons. He had no help. That's what they told me. You sign a guy like Tom Brady to win the Super Bowl now, like this year. And especially with the new offense, a great coach in Bruce Arians. Yeah, he's not Bill Belichick. Still a great coach. And like we said before with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, 2,000-yard receivers with a guy last year who threw 30 interceptions. According to Stephen A., Jameis Winston should have been the defensive player of the year last year. So he's expected to deliver. He's supposed to put the Buccaneers in position to win the Super Bowl. So, yes, there is a ton of pressure on Tom Brady because if he lays an egg, that system quarterback narrative, that's still a thing. We could still hold that together. Tom Brady could wipe that away. If he could ball out with a 35 to 40 touchdown season, 3,500 yards, lead the Buccaneers maybe further than we expect, maybe have an upset in a wild card round, make it the divisional round or the NFC Championship game. It kind of kills that narrative that we've been holding on to for a very long time now, at least since I've been watching football. We've all been saying he's a system quarterback. So, hell yeah, there's a ton of pressure on Tom Brady. Can't ignore that. His legacy cemented, of course. He's still going to go down, but he's still expected to come to Tampa Bay to help them win a Super Bowl this year or next year before he retires.
Well, your last reasoning is why I don't put a lot of pressure on Brady, because you say, even if he's there to put them in a position to win the Super Bowl. So Tom Brady could do anything. First of all, they're not even the favorites to win the division. I think the Saints are still the favorite.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
And even if Tom Brady has, an average season, he doesn't have pressure. I mean, Tom Brady could still have an average season, pressure or no pressure. So it's not like he has to, go out there, put the team on his back and take them to a promised land because, yes, there will still be that narrative. But even if he doesn't win the Super Bowl, he's still going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's still going to be in the argument for a greatest quarterback of all time. It's almost like a Derek Jeter thing where people always say, oh, he's overrated because he was so bad defensively and this and that. Yes, there's still going to be narratives even after he retires. But you still can't take anything away from the guy was still, first ballot Hall of Famer, five championships. So it kind of fits into that molding of whatever Tom Brady does this year, he's still going to be Tom Brady at the end of the day. So if the Buccaneers, I guess, yes, to make the playoffs, and I guess it might be tougher in the NFC because there's a lot of good NFC teams.
Right.
But I think there's a lot less pressure to actually go and make the playoffs than actually advancing and going deep in the playoffs.
Well, to wrap up today, one thing we know for sure is got a lot of quarterbacks have a lot to prove and to make their marks as great quarterbacks, make their marks as franchise quarterbacks as well. And couldn't be more excited. We got football coming back September 10th. Mark it in the calendar. Thursday night, Houston Texans coming against the defending championship, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. But Chuck, that's going to wrap up today. Thanks for joining me.
Anytime, pal. Let's go Jets.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for watching the Falco Takeaway. For more daily sports content, please follow me on the Falco Takeaway on Instagram and YouTube, and be sure to check me out on the Sports Hit List and 6048 Sports.